Alrighty, guys. Try to make this one as quick as possible so we'll get started right away. I do want to welcome everybody back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I am your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. We will continue our trial coverage of the Richard Allen case, also known as Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. I think what you can expect from today's live stream will be mainly a recap. All the information that was provided yesterday. I tried to find the best notes from everybody that was actually in attendance yesterday. So what I did was I pulled a live blog from wishtv.com. And that was by Ashley Fowler, Jay Adkins, and Jason Ronimus. Then also from x.com, formerly Twitter. I pulled the feed from Donnie Burgess. He's of 93 WIBC. You can find him at 93 WIBC. And then Andrea Burkhart, she put out a great video yesterday. I pulled the transcript from her YouTube channel. And her link, the description to that video is in the description. Some of the major takeaways from today's live stream will be that it appears that Betsy Blair and her witness statements will be Richard Allen's only alibi. That and the phone pings and whatever was going on with the phone activating at 4:30 a.m. That's everything that the defense is providing as far as Richard Allen's alibi. He doesn't really have an alibi. They're using that as his alibi, along with the fire department saying that while they were searching on the south side of the creek, they looked over towards the where the bodies were found, and they noticed that there were flashlights in that general area, but they didn't say specifically where the girls were found. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. But I think those are going to be the biggest takeaways. So we'll get through. These are pretty long. It's going to be long-winded. A lot of regurgitated information, repetitive. But there's going to be a little bit in each one of these groups of notes from these folks that were in attendance that wasn't in the other. So and I just ask that you guys do not spam the chat, please, the best you can. That way we can get to everybody's comment. There's no reason just to be spamming the chat with anything that's not pertaining to the case, things like that. Welcome in, Tina. Hello, Misunderstood. How you doing? Roxy, hello. Says justice to the family in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for that, Roxy. Patty, Jill, how are you? Beth Gonzalez, good to see you guys. Good to see the crew up in the building. CJK says prayers for the family as the trial continues. And our love goes out to the family and friends of Abby and Libby, whatever wherever these facts take us, wherever we end up, we're with you guys. And we'll do our best to follow, the facts that are presented to us without really being afraid of where that leads us, whether it's away from Richard Allen or towards Richard Allen. One thing we're not going to do is let some slimy defense attorneys mislead us. BD Hubbard. Beth, always good to see you. Kate B. Good to see you. Kitty Cat, what's up? Jason G. Miss Thang, what's up? Sarah Harvey. Crystal Gaston, good morning to you. Mark, how are you? Jill, Little One, Boo, Shimona V, Lady Monet. Doris Brockman, good to see you. Shimon, I was pretty certain that he was guilty, but the fact that they are just now testing the hair has given me the reasonable doubt. I hate how he has operated on this case. Oh, another thing to take away is something that was mentioned by Andrea Burkhart in her notes was that the defense stated that in Libby's video, you can see the bridge guy clearly, from my understanding, but when you hear the words "guys down the hill," his mouth isn't moving. Whatever that means. But I guess the point is, if you can see his mouth, then you can see his entire face, right? You can identify him. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But all of these key points and all of this information that we're going to kind of unwrap here, we can stop and focus in on it as we go along. I do have some supporting content and information to help with my point of view. And unfortunately, that is the price you pay to play here on the Sleuth Intuition channel. You just have to suffer through my opinion if you can handle that. All opinions are welcome. The only rules are here is that you don't act like a trigger troll. You don't attack the family members of Abby and Libby. And you have the ability to agree to disagree and do not distract in the chat. You'll get one warning from the mods, and then you'll get timed out. Good to see you, Jerry. Hiawatha, welcome in. TJ, Anna, how are you? Lala, happy Saturday, guys. Growing Crazy. Olivia, too. Lucky, welcome in. Good morning to you. Who else did I miss? Thank you for that, CJK. Okay. So here are some of the photographs. This one is from Bob Siegel. He's been doing some great coverage. Shout out to Bob. Let me get my screen up there for you guys. So not quite sure who these folks are. That looks like Kevin Greenlee. He's got the poofy hair and the male pattern baldness that all of us in our 40s are dealing with. Pretty distinguishable, but I don't know these folks. But yeah, Murder Sheet's been doing a great job. Good coverage, good reporting, good investigative journalism on the case, despite, how you may or may not feel about them. Same goes for Barbara McDonald. Shout out to her. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's up to you guys what you do with the information that's presented and discovered by those investigators. And these journalists, including myself, that's what we are. We are investigators. We may not be law enforcement. We may not know exactly what we're talking about all the time. But that's what we do. We dig. And then we report on it. Yeah, I remember that, Anna. Yankee Ghost, good to see you. Mark Collins says, man, I wish Hoosier was here to see the trial. Me too. Me too. If you guys don't know who he's referring to, he's talking about Hoosier the Bruiser. He's a good friend of mine. Passed away not too long ago. Actually, I think it was in October. Maybe 3 years ago now. And I was literally talking to him the night before he passed. So thank you for saying that, Mark. Lady Monet can say guys down the hill without moving my lips. Try it. Well, the thing is, if you can see somebody's lips moving, you should be able to see all of their facial features, right? And they obviously had to work on the audio, so it wasn't too close. Olivia 2, Tony N, how you doing? The Crayola sketch, I thought it was pretty interesting. We've been kind of laughing about it in the members-only Discord. H. Nixon, afternoon. Christine, hello, hello. CJK, she's got her favorite red crayons out. I've heard he's not saying guys down the hill, but girls down the hill. I'm not quite sure. I mean, we've heard the audio. That's no secret. You know, tell me what you hear. I'm pretty sure we're going to go through a lot of information. There's a lot of it's going to be a lot of reading. Some of the information is going to be repetitive. So, yeah, and I remember hearing that early on. Me too, Jill. Thank you for that. Mustang says, and Michael Cat. Shout out to Michael Cat. Lala. It's funny. Growing Crazy. How you doing? Brad. My dude. One of my favorite podcasts outside of the grid. Go check it out. It appeared, well, I think during one of his confessions, he stated that, and that's what they keep saying. And we're going to go through these notes right now. Good to see you, Cindy. Violet Dragon, welcome in. Hiawatha. None of the media mentioning Carrie Timmons. That's Libby's biological mother. Shout out to her. Libby's other two sisters and other was disheartening to me. They sure got them on video, though. Oh, yeah. Yeah, shout out to Hannah Shakespeare. She was the first one to kind of hold law enforcement to the coals and demand some respect for Carrie. So, shout out to her. Yep, you're on time. This one was taken by Barbara McDonald. So the line's not as long. I think this was at 7:30 a.m. this morning. Here's another one. Looks like just before they're being allowed to enter the building. And then Annie Kate. She shot a couple videos that she posted. I'll share those with you guys. So yeah, that's definitely Greenlee there. I don't know. That kind of looks like Bob Mata back there. I'm not sure. I think I have another one. Both by Annie Kate. Thank you, Annie. Looks a little bit longer there. So that should kind of give you a little bit of a window into what was going on at the courthouse this morning. But we are going to jump right into our recap. I think we should start with Donnie Burgess. Once again, these are his notes. He was actually sitting in the trial. These are the best notes that I could find. That would be a live blog on wishtv.com. I think that's was titled Day One. That's Ashley Fowler, Jay Adkins, Jason Ronimus. and then also, of course, Donnie Burgess, and then we're going to read parts of the transcript from Andrea Burkhart from her YouTube channel. That description is in the video if you guys want to go watch it at any point. But I think we're going to start here with Donnie. So here he's a broadcast journalist, 93 WIBC Network Indiana Radio. Says he's usually rambling about comics, manga, and pro wrestling. And he kind of had a Royal Rumble backdrop there on his X channel. Shout out to Donnie. Thank you so much for keeping us informed. I appreciate that. Yeah, once again, that wordplay, very, their style is misleading. What's up, Redfoot? Good to see you. Anna, I think Nick tried to show it yesterday, but it was amateur hour. He couldn't get the video to play. You can't do that. You got to make sure your shit is ready to go, man. So apparently they have this large screen there, and it's ready to play videos and show imagery. And apparently he tried for a while to get this video to play, and he just gave up. So, I mean, that's not a good look on the prosecution. So I don't know if the video has been shown yet. So I don't know if it's been played yet. I know they attempted to, and I'm sure they finally got it good to go today. Reva says, yes, Anna, the furniture was rearranged, but it was the objects. Reva, that's not true. I've been covering the Stevenson case for quite some time. That's not factual information. As a matter of fact, the only factual information is that furniture was moved and that there were actually pentagrams left at the crime scene. So please don't spread misinformation. And if you can prove me wrong, send it to my email and I'll put it up on the screen. Good to see you, sees through. Rebecca, how are you? Kitty Cat, what's up? Bob Mata doesn't have to wait in line as Rossi escorted him into the courtroom and sat him in the defense row. I've heard that from multiple sources. Did Mullins admit to recording Judge Judy over the early interrogation? Judge Judy. Good morning, Shadowbox. Stop that right now. Good to see you. Slept in this morning, so I'm feeling lost. And we just got started. We're going to go ahead and go over the recap. We're going to go over 3 different sets of notes. These were the best that I can find, the most informative. And we'll stop and go as we read. Hey, Jessica, how you doing? Richard Allen, USMM. I don't know what that means. Good to see you, Jessica. Good morning, Suzer. Yeah, we got a scrub report. If you guys could hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe and go share this on your X account. Go share it on your YouTube channel, Facebook. Let's get some more folks in here. All right, let's get going here. Okay, so he says here, I stepped out after the first session and Dave Bangert stepped in. He's assisting with our coverage. Here are some notes from the first session. These are just notes, not word for word, letter by letter dictations. Apparently, some national media from NBC and AP broke the decorum order and filmed the jury, which is why court started slightly late. This is from Judge Gold. Richard Allen deserves a fair trial away from the nonsense of the media. Prosecutor Nick McClelland's opening statement. McClelland spent about 20 minutes on his statement. He was focused yet relaxed, leaning heavily into emotion. He says Richard Allen used fear and intimidation to scare Abby and Libby with his gun. McClelland kept harping on fear and power and control. McClelland said, "We told you this case is about Bridge Guy, a bullet, and the brutal murders of 2 young girls. Today you will hear the rest of the story." McClelland reiterated that Allen wanted to sexually assault the girls but was stopped. So he slit their throats and left. Allen's attorney's Andrew Baldwin was up next, and boy howdy, he took his time. And sometimes I think that can have a reverse effect on the jury. They want to get out of there. They don't want to sit in that courtroom all day. So sometimes quicker the better. Baldwin easily went over an hour with his opening statements and veered very close to plainly presenting evidence. Gold stepped in and wants to tell Baldwin to wrap it up and that she had given him plenty of leeway. Baldwin says the murder timeline is completely wrong. He claims Allen was not on the trails at the same time as Abby and Libby, period. But the thing is about the alibi, he doesn't know. He can't tell the jury where Richard Allen was. All he knows is that Betsy Blair saw a different vehicle parked at the CPS building that was not Richard Allen's. Baldwin says 2 important witnesses will destroy the state's timeline. Baldwin says the strands of hair were female hairs twisted around Abigail Williams' finger, root and all. So I think that's important. I think they need to find out who that hair belongs to and to verify that alibi so they can get that out of the jury's mind. Baldwin brought up the bullet evidence and how, and by the way, they are testing the hair now for DNA, I believe. I believe that will be stated by Andrea Burkhart when we get to that. Baldwin brought up the bullet evidence and how the defense will prove it with shoddy science. Baldwin likes to use the word bunk. On to witness number 1. Becky Patty, Liberty German's grandmother. Stacy Diener conducted the majority of the questioning. Most of it was a detail-by-detail retelling of daily events in the lives of the German family leading up to February 13, 2017. Both state and defense Baldwin focused on Libby's outspoken nature. And by that, Becky Patty clarified that Libby would stand up for what's right and question somebody who she felt was wrong. She stood her ground, was adventurous, brave, and would try anything one time. Baldwin focused on Libby's brave nature. Okay, we'll take a quick break there. Catch up on the chat as we go. Does Richard Allen need to be convicted for his DNA to be entered into CODIS? I'm not sure. That's a good question. Does anybody know? Great question. Kitty Cat says, day 2 today from 9 to 12 p.m. just ended. Citizens who found bodies. Yeah, if you guys have any updates, feel free to shoot me an email, and we'll close out the stream with that. I've been trying to keep track of anything updated, but nothing so far. So if you have anything new, share it in the chat or shoot me an email. sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Shadowbox. Hope you're having a great time in Vegas. I will have to find the video I watched. I definitely said they had objects Yeah, well, I've seen a million videos that say a million things. Let's try to deal with the facts before we start spreading stuff like that. Yep, that's a good question about Pat Brown. I know that Mike Patty actually confronted him, showed up at his house, sat down with him, and said, "You're going to tell me everything that you've seen at that crime scene." But I believe they took his phone, took his DNA, and gave him a lie detector test. Good to see you, Mustang, Bird Brain. It's Saturday in Indiana. No noon news. It's all about college football. No Delphi news until this evening, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's why we're focusing more on the recap, and we'll probably do the same thing on Monday to begin with. Possibly badass. Good to see. I remember they were looking for something with a hooked end, is what I remember early on in the case. That was Alex Voorhees. I believe he had early access to the crime scene photos, and something he considered similar was found at the Stevenson case. Don't quote me on that. Are they trying to say it's not Richard Allen on Libby's cell phone video? It literally looks exactly like Richard Allen. I agree with that, but I can't say 100% it's him. Spent a lot of time on that video, and I've never seen anybody as close. And we can talk about that too. Good afternoon. Mustang says everything that Baldwin says is bunk. We'll try to find the facts, and what he says. We'll try to focus in on that and try to stay away from his misleading style, which is what he likes to do. I'm sure all defense attorneys are doing that. They know how to persuade the jury, like a lot of these folks out here in YouTube land are persuaded by them as well. Good to see you, Don Spain. There you are. Violet Dragon, welcome in. Extremely hard on them. Thank you, Beth. If you guys need to hit me up for whatever reason, there you go. There's my email. If you need it, just ask one of the mods. Okay, so Lady Monet brings up a good point. After going through all of these notes, another thing that I discovered during the mini opening statement, and I think it was presented yesterday that Baldwin said that he could prove Richard Allen was somewhere else because of cell phone data. So you see how that's misleading? It makes you feel like they have information about Richard Allen's phone, putting him somewhere else. That's not the case at all, from what I've seen so far. What they're trying to say is that Libby's phone was activated, and they can prove it was activated somehow by a human hand. So that's their phone data. So they have the pings of Abby and Libby, all over town. It was shut off at about 5:40 p.m. and then reactivated at around 4:30, I believe was the time. And I'll correct that as we go on. That is their alibi. They don't have an actual alibi for Richard Allen. It's more of like in a roundabout way, which doesn't seem very helpful for Richard Allen. So they say Richard Allen was gone by 2:15. How do they know he was gone by 2:15? Because Betsy Blair says the vehicle that she saw at the CPS building was not Richard Allen's. Okay. Where was he? If he's not at the bridge, at the trails, killing Abby and Libby, I mean, that's okay. Well, just tell me where he was. That would prove that he's not the killer, but they can't do it. He doesn't have a real alibi from what I've seen so far. Hey, Rebecca. She says you must be a convicted with a felony in order for your DNA to be entered into CODIS. That makes sense. That seems fair. Miracle Hearts, good to see you. Since it's unidentified, it's irrelevant. Maybe prosecution didn't test it. Purpose because it would probably look worse to be a mystery hair. Well, the thing is, you can't ignore facts. Thank you, Suzer. Thanks for sponsoring today's live stream. Great photo, by the way. You know, we can't ignore facts. If Abby has a finger that's wrapped around, has a hair that's wrapped around her finger, sorry, that's big, especially if it has the root attached to it. That gives the appearance that it was yanked out of somebody's head. Yeah, it could have been, it could have the root attached to it and just be hanging around inside the sleeve of Libby's hoodie. And then when Abby put her hand through it, it gets wrapped around. Yes. But the question is, the jury's not just going to accept that. They don't have any loyalty to anybody. They're there to find the truth. The future of a man's life hangs in their balance, in their hands. They're going to want to know what the hell's going on with that hair. And if it creates any doubt, they need to find out. And it's my understanding that they are testing the hair right now and comparing it. They're in the process of doing it as we speak. So they're waiting on those results. And then once they ID the person who the hair belongs to, they're going to need to get an alibi from that person. That way the jury could be satisfied and we can move on. But you can't ignore facts like that. You just can't. Could it be random? Yes. But you have to look through the eyes of the jury. And you can't you just can't let things linger there, you know? That's going to create doubt. Welcome in, Stephen. Good to see you. Lorraine, welcome in. Thank you, little one. Yep, they do, Suzer. Daisy, welcome in. New technology to test the hair. Yeah, they're testing it right now. Okay, let's continue on. So Baldwin focused on Libby's brave nature because the defense plans to paint a picture of two girls who put up a fight. Yet no noise was heard on the 13th when the murders were supposed to be happening. Baldwin says the defense will provide evidence to show the girls were confronted by several people, taken away from the bridge, killed on February 14th, 2017, as opposed to the state's February 13th. Baldwin also pointed to phone data earlier in the day and said that the jury will see the full Down the Hill video. And the defense believes the jury will see that the man in the video doesn't appear to be the one saying down the hill. And perhaps others were waiting for the girls down below the bridge. He says, I'm freestyling this thread in a restaurant. Thank you, Donnie. Media is seated in the front row. Allen's family is behind the media. Kathy Allen, Richard's wife, was directly behind me. She exchanged several long glances at Richard Allen, cried, and held on to family's hands. Allen walked in right in front of me, escorted by police in suits. Allen is well dressed, no chains, no restrictions whatsoever. In the courtroom, overall, session was relaxed. What I mean is Judge Gull and the defense were cordial and joking at one point. McClellan and the defense spent time joking and talking with one another. police, of which there are multiple departments, are all accommodating and very helpful with the overall process. Public has been understanding of the court rules and kindly left when the seats were all filled up. That's all I can think of for now. Thank you, Donnie. Okay, so that's going to be our first set of notes. We got 2 more to go through. Yep, that's a good point. Libby set up Abby to enable her to access the phone with her thumb. So Libby probably used a password, and then Abby was able to use her thumb. And we know by communications that were released that I haven't made public, but during their discussions, they had access to each other's social media. So they could kind of spy on each other's friends that they weren't really on good terms with, to see if they were talking, mess about them or just teenage drama. Like, I'm not getting along with Don Spain, so I'm going to go ask Anna, like, hey, can I access your Snapchat so I can see what Don's saying about me, without him knowing. They did that kind of stuff a lot. Yeah, Mustang. And it really doesn't matter what we think about how, law should be conducted, investigations should be conducted. It's all about the jury. And the jury is not a jury of professional people. These are everyday folks, just like Richard Allen, a jury of his peers. It's about what they think about what is being presented. And the defense team is going to know how to manipulate the shit out of them, just like they have done to a lot of people in the public already. So we know that you're educated. We know that you know how it should or shouldn't be, but it's not about us. It's about how will the jury respond to the prosecution or the defense. Exactly, Don. And that's a bad look. Says, man, how incompetent is not testing that hair until 7 years later. Shake my head. Yeah, it's a bad look. So get it tested. Get it off, get it off the plate. The only way to do that is to identify who it belongs to. Apparently, it belongs to a family member or a relative, and put their alibi on full display. Get rid of that piece of information and then continue. Because right now, all it's doing is creating doubt for the jury, potentially. How many with long hair have experienced a loose hair getting caught on fingers, maybe wet fingers, or being hard to casually get rid of? Well, my wife, her hair is all over my stuff. So it's easy for me to explain how easy that is. You put your hand through a jacket or a hoodie, and you have a piece of hair on the end of your hand or between your fingers. That's most likely what has happened, right? But to the jury, they're saying, yeah, they're probably saying the same thing. Yes, that's probably what happened. But what if? What if it belongs to an accomplice? So it's very strange the way the defense is trying to create this image that Richard Allen couldn't do this alone. But then at the same time, they're trying to paint a picture that others assisted. I don't get that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's hurting them in a way. Yep, they never tested the hair, Christine. Okay, let's go to, I believe this is from Wish TV. I'm pretty sure it is. And it's by Ashley Fowler, Jay Adkins, and Jason Hieronymus. So 4:52 p.m. Derek German's testimony is where we will begin. Catch up on the chat real quick. Looks like I'm going to need to go refill my coffee as well. So let me catch up on the chat and I'll go do that. Yeah, it looks like witnesses said that he had a scarf over his mouth under his nose, but it's obvious that the scarf is somewhat under his chin, maybe a little bit over his chin, but definitely under his mouth. And he appears to have a cigarette. Misunderstood says Becky just gave DNA a few days ago. She stated yesterday. Yeah, they're testing this hair right now. They're going to find out who it belongs to. It's going to probably be like Libby's younger sister, Aunt Tara, or somebody like that. And then they're going to ask them, what is your alibi? They're going to give the alibi, and then the information is going to be meaningless. It's that simple. But when it comes to this jury, we know what it is. We know that it probably hooked onto Abby's hand while her hand was being pushed through the sleeve. But they have to figure it out, and they have to find out the factual information surrounding that hair. Because when it comes to a trial like this, you can't leave any doubt. Because what's going to happen is the defense team will exploit it. So get it off the table. And that's what they're going to do. Steven says all they know is who took those girls off that bridge. Yep, which is Richard Allen. So if anybody else is involved, whether that's Richard Allen's voice or not, they know he's the bridge guy. They know for a fact. They know it. And that's all they're going to prove. And if there's anybody else involved, he'll be the one to tell us. Stage left even, welcome in. There's way too much emphasis on the importance of the hair. In my opinion, at any given time, you can find my daughter, my wife, and animals' hair on my person. Yes, but there's always that what if. Like we know what it most likely is, right? We know that it's common sense. We've done our own experiments. We've all went and flipped our hoodies inside out to find somebody else's hair just right there at the end of the sleeve. It would be very easy for us to put on the sleeve and get a piece of hair tangled through our hand. But when it comes to that jury and the way the defense is going to spin it, they need to factually identify the person that hair belongs to and have their alibi right next to that information. Get it off the table. You know, because what they're going to do is they're going to stack all this doubt like pancakes, right? Well, we got the hair. We're not quite sure who it belongs to. You know, they're just going to keep stacking all these bits and pieces of information until it wants to, lean like the Tower of Pisa. You can't have that. You need to remove those building blocks, like Jenga, to, get them out of there till it falls. Can't have that doubt lingering over that jury like that. The investigators know what it is. They know what's going on. They've already done the lie detector test. They've already done the interrogation of the family members, the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the sisters. They know what it is, but the jury does not. Exactly, Violet. Shimona V, 7 years and just now testing the hair is crazy. Crazy work, man. And that's what some of the jury is going to say, like, that's nuts. Well, it's nuts until they identify it and they get the alibi of the person who it belongs to. Then it's meaningless. They're no longer concerned about it. We don't want them harping on that shit. Exactly. You want the jury to be harping on it and then to be put at ease. Like, oh shit, okay. So we know who the hair belongs to, and we know that they have an alibi. Damn, they don't really have much. And then they know they're going to learn as they go on not to jump on all the little details that the defense, they're going to learn that the defense is misleading them. They're going to learn their patterns and they're going to lose trust in them. And the way you do that is with factual information. Kitty Cat says, yes, misleading. The Richard Allen phone will not prove he was gone by 2:15, but they say Betsy Blair will say his car wasn't there at 2:15 p.m. Just liars. Yeah, and I don't think Betsy Blair's lying. Maybe there was a car that had pulled up and she wasn't able to see Richard Allen's car. We don't know. Doesn't mean that he was gone. And that's fine. If Richard Allen has an alibi, that's great. And he most likely is not the person. But he doesn't. Just because Betsy Blair didn't see his car or thought she saw a younger person, she could be wrong. I accept that information. That's her testimony and that shit is real. Okay, that's fine. Well, where was Richard Allen? What does his cell phone information tell us? Who was with him? Was he at home? Was he watching TV? What was he watching? Did he stop and get a burger from McDonald's? Does he have a receipt with a timestamp on it? No. But because Betsy Blair saw some older car and you have a phone that we've proven can turn on and off, and they say they're going to prove that it was turned on and off by a human hand. I would like to see how they prove that. Once again, misleading. And if they lose the trust of the jury, it's over for them. Good question, CJ. We got a scrub report. This just in. We have 219 in chat and only 58 thumbs up. Don't be a scrub. I mean, you can if you want to. Stage left even. There have been times I found one of my wife's hair in my mouth while at workout. Oh, yeah. I have red hair all over me constantly. And they're long and strong. It looks like a copper wire. It's like a damn guitar string. Defense says the bullet found isn't Allen's either. They basically saying Allen wasn't there, yet that's calling all witnesses liars. Well, let's call Richard Allen a liar, most importantly. He's the one that said he was there at that time. He's the one that said he saw those witnesses. Those witnesses can prove that he was heading towards the Monon High Bridge while they were leaving. So at the time he says he was leaving, they're going to tell the world that he was heading towards the crime scene just before the murders. What's up, Hather's Mirror? Hey, Caricature. Hey, shout out to Tom Webster. Jari, good to see you. You guys, I'm going to go run real quick. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to refill this coffee. I'll be right back. Thank you guys for being patient. I appreciate you. Camaro lover, how you doing? Did law enforcement find the blue Carhartt jacket at Richard's house when they raided him? Yes. But I guarantee that's not the jacket he was wearing. The jacket that he was wearing that day is long gone, and it does not appear to be a Carhartt jacket. It looks like a tactical jacket, with a lot of inside pockets, a lot of Velcro straps around the wrist, neck area with a large hood. It doesn't look like any Carhartt jacket. I have a few Carhartt jackets, and I've been searching, ever since we heard it was a Carhartt jacket. But I think the reason he admitted in 2022 that he owned a blue Carhartt jacket or that he was wearing a blue Carhartt jacket is because he's a very proactive type person, and he knew that they would test it. But he also knows that the actual jacket that was covered in blood is long gone. Diane, welcome in. I saw a report from somebody inside saying that hair may quite possibly be a relative. That's what I heard as well. They're testing it right now. This is on a podcast from another creator. Yep, that's true. And the judge or the jury doesn't care who it belongs to. They're going to think in their mind, oh my God, either this is the real killer or this might be the person that helped Richard Allen. So the only way to get that off the table is to identify who it belongs to 100% and then put their alibi right next to that information. Boom, non-issue. But until they do that, the defense team will continue to exploit that, try to squeeze it into reasonable doubt. Thank you, Hathers. Scrub report. It's funny, Hiawatha. Yeah, I believe that's more accurate. Welcome in, Linda. Fashionably late. Kitty, good to see you, my friend. Big supporter of the channel. Thank you. Appreciate you. What if it's Kathy's or his daughter? Coat looks worn. It looks like the jacket, and we're going to go over why I think Richard Allen fits the profile. I've collected a whole lot of content, and before Kathy took her Facebook offline in late 2016, we get a lot of photo and video of Richard Allen. He's wearing this jacket. Now, it's the closest jacket I've ever seen to the bridge guy, and it does appear to be one of those tactical style jackets that I was referring to. Exactly, Don. You can't leave this, and that's because Don is speaking like he's on that jury. That's what they're going to say. They're going to be sitting in that room together. They're going to say this, and I quote Don. Yeah, the hair is probably nothing, but you don't leave a stone unturned for 7 years. That creates doubt. They're going to feed the jury nothing burgers until they're full of doubt. You want some fries with that nothing burger? Here you go. Thank you, Mustangs. It's justice for Abby and Libby. Oh, that's a good point. Stage left. Joni, how you doing? Right field, welcome in. James Cope. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right, who else did I miss? And then we'll continue on. Zoe. Good to see you. Frankie Christian. Alan's guilty that I'm sure of, but I was under the impression through the secrecy there was more evidence, and it seems they don't. And I think he's going to walk. So sad for the families. And if they don't have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, he should walk. Yes, Reva, but that doesn't mean that there were sticks placed over the body that that had something to do with Odinism. That's what you said early on. No big deal. We don't have to harp on it. What's up, Blind Squirrel? Sand Dollar, welcome in. Necessary Evil. Okay, welcome in. So let's go into these notes. We're still on our recap part of the live stream. This is a live blog. I believe it was titled Day One, and it's from Wish TV, Ashley Fowler, Jay Adkins, and Jason Ronimus. So at 4:52 p.m., Derek German's testimony, Libby's father. The prosecution called Derek German to the stand at 2:50 p.m. Derek told the jury he lived in the home with the Patties, Libby's grandparents, with Libby and Kelsey. Derek told the jury that he communicated with Abby via text and took her to Abby's house a lot. Derek said he picked Abby up for a sleepover the night before he made banana pancakes for their breakfast on February 13th. Derek told the jury he left the home at 1:20 p.m. to take photos for an appraisal properties in Frankfurt owned by the Patties. Halfway there, Libby called him to pick them up from the bridge. Derek told Libby he had photos to take, and he finished the work and went to pick up the girls. Derek told the jury he called Libby to tell her to come back to the entrance to the park. She never answered. He told the jury he ran into a man and asked if he had seen two teenage girls. The man said no. Derek then went to the water and to the Freedom Bridge. He told the jury he continued to call Abby's phone and began yelling their names. So I think he meant Libby. I think they mean Libby. Prosecutors asked Derek to show on a map where he searched. He tells the jury others were searching south of him. He told the jury he parked at the CPS building and went back to the entrance. Derek told the jury that the next day during the search, I just heard Mom, Becky, Patty screaming. I saw the coroner go by at about 12 cops' cars, so I knew. The defense asked Derek what the last digit of his phone number was. So this is interesting. He told the jury he parked at the CPS building and went back to the entrance. So from my understanding, he parked at the Mears lot. Unless he moved. And if he's parked at the CPS building, I don't know how accurate this information is. Let's see, 4:21 p.m., Kelsey German's testimony. The state called Kelsey German at 1:34 p.m. to the stand. Kelsey told the jury she was a junior in high school in 2017. She now has a daughter and is expecting another. Congratulations, Kelsey. She said Libby was more like my best friend than my sister. Kelsey told the jury that Libby wanted her to go to the trails with her, but Kelsey couldn't go but would drop them off if they had a ride home. She told the jury Abby had on a gray zip-up jacket that day that she had borrowed from Kelsey. Kelsey was shown a photo by the prosecution of Abby and Libby inside Kelsey's car. Jurors were given a copy as well. Kelsey was asked to stand up and show on a large map how she would have taken the girls to the trails. Kelsey said she dropped the girls off and went to her boyfriend's house. Kelsey is asked if Libby knew where her phone was most of the time. She told the jury it was always in her hand. Kelsey told the jury she got a call from Becky Patty that Libby was missing while her boyfriend had just left for work. The prosecution showed a closer view of the earlier map that Kelsey explained that lots of people at school go on this, referring to the trails near the bridge. Kelsey was asked if she was aware it was private property. She said no and laughed. Kelsey told the jury that she communicated with Libby via Snapchat for the most part. Kelsey described the bridge to the jury as different than it was in 2017, that you can't cross it and other areas have been paved. The prosecution plays a video of the trail as it looks today. Kelsey is asked if she would agree that the area has improved since 2017. She replied, yes, a lot. Kelsey described several changes to the area to the jury. The prosecution asked Kelsey, if you were at the end of the bridge, could you see somebody at the beginning? Kelsey answered no. Kelsey told the jury about Snapchat and the texting feature and discussed timestamps on Snapchat stories. Kelsey said she was texting and calling Libby the night of February 13th. Kelsey told the jury that she became emotional after finding out the girls had been found, but did not know they had died. Defense attorney Andrew Baldwin asked Kelsey if Libby was outspoken. Kelsey said yes. Baldwin asked Kelsey if she would run across the bridge. Kelsey replied that would be dangerous. The defense showed Kelsey a photo of Abby on the bridge taken by Libby. He asked, you don't see anyone behind Abby on the bridge, do you? In that photo, Kelsey said no. Baldwin asked Kelsey, how long into the bridge was that photo taken? Kelsey said 1/4. Kelsey told the jury she gave DNA to police a few days ago, and it was not the first time she had been asked that. Baldwin asked Kelsey if she had worn the sweatshirt worn by Abby. Kelsey said they washed it, but she had not worn it. So before we get into Becky's testimony, let's catch up on the chat. I agree, Violet. That's enough, Reva. We're done talking about that. Kitty says, K.A. hair or daughter's hair. He wore that coat out and often. Yep, he did. And I'm going to show you that. Hey, Charlotte. I agree. Now they need to prove it to the jury. Exactly. Welcome in, Darlene. It's a good question. And I don't know how accurate these notes are. Because they were saying Libby, or they were saying Abby when they obviously meant Libby. And I'm almost 100% sure that Derek parked at the Mears lot. Yeah, I think that, I don't know if that's accurate. Momo Shark, weapons, knives. I don't know, Lalo. I don't think so. Linda says there has to be more evidence. I don't know. I don't think they need more. I don't think they need more. What they need to do is dismantle whatever the defense provides. Once they dismantle that, everything that they have is going to be extremely powerful. So the defense is building a house of cards right now. And until the prosecution can flick it down, it's going to keep growing, especially in the minds of that jury. Yeah, I think that's just I think that's a law throughout the nation is you have an easement. Like even if it's on private property, once you go under the bridge, you can walk a certain, I think it might be 4 to 6 feet. You can walk near the bridge, even if you're on the private drive. And even if it's on private property, you can walk on the side of the creek or even be on the creek. Nobody owns the creek. So Ron Logan doesn't own the 4 feet of the bank line or the edge of the creek. So legally, you could walk that. But once you step off of that 4 feet, then you're on private property. That's called an easement. What's up, Cryptex? Good to see you. Don Spain says, this hair thing could backfire on the defense. What if it turns out to be Richard Allen's wife or daughter? I think it's going to backfire on him either way. They're bringing it up in their opening statements like it's some heavy thing. But once they find out who it belongs to and that person can account for the whereabouts at the time, just one less card for that house of cards. One less building block. Weapons, apparently there may be 2 weapons. And I don't know what the defense is trying to prove because right from the beginning, the prosecution says, hey, we think more than one person can be involved. So maybe it's part of their strategy to have the defense expose that. Because when this all started, the defense was trying to paint this picture, at least according to the leaked Franks memo, that little old Ricky couldn't do this. Inept little garden gnome was not capable. Okay, well, if he's not capable and he must have had help, well, sounds like that's part of your defense, is that the bridge guy's mouth wasn't moving, that somebody may have been down there. You're bringing up this hair. You're bringing up other vehicles, things like that. That doesn't remove Richard Allen from being the bridge guy. It just goes to your point that he couldn't have done this alone. But we all know that he could have, and he most likely did. Did I miss you, Witchcraft? Sorry about that. Welcome in. Let's go to Buried Fish Heads. Yep, Pray for Justice. Growing Crazy says we all have to remember a lot of the people that are reporting has stayed up all night to get a seat. Yeah, they're extremely tired. They're trying to capture the information, as the defense and prosecution is spewing it out. So all of this is, we're going to try to do our best to decipher it. Yeah, but there's federal laws, there's laws that apply to states and stuff like that too. Hey, D. What's up, original badass? Think we'll find him guilty. Let's not forget that they use NASA and know how accurate NASA is when it comes to the images. Good to see you, D. All right, there you are. Crocheting a pair of shorts. Okay, let's continue on here. We're pretty much caught up on the chat. Okay, Becky Patty's testimony. After lunch break, court resumed and Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, was called to the stand. She described Libby as very smart and that she participated in the math bowl and was active in swimming, volleyball, softball, and soccer. She said Libby has many sleepovers with friends and vice versa. She told the jury that Abby Williams went on spring break with her and her husband and Libby. Patty said that Libby had just turned 14 the previous December and that her sister Kelsey having her driver's license helped with all of Abby's activities. Patty told the jury that February 13th was a typical workday, but that school was out. Abby spent the night on Sunday. According to Patty, she told the girls if they filed some paperwork for her, she would pay them. Patty began to cry as she described Libby and Abby asking to go to the trails. She tells the jury the last thing Abby said to her was, "Grandma, I will be okay." She described Libby as wearing gray sweats and a tie-dye shirt with Nikes. She said Libby loved photography and loved the Monon High Bridge. You know, that's one thing Richard Allen did too. She said she always knew Libby was going where she said she would be. The prosecution asked Patty, "What is a concern of yours to know what time Abby and Libby would be picked up from the trail?" Becky responded, "She always coordinated with us." She told the prosecution that they took the girls to the trail at 1:30. Becky told prosecutors that she herself had not been to the bridge, but all of her kids had gone there to take photos. "I didn't realize how high it was," she said. She said Libby was polite, but if you were out of line, she did not have a hard time telling you. She also told the jury that Libby loved crime shows, and she had great intuition. There you go. Becky told the jury that at 3:30 that day, Derek German, Libby's dad, called to say they had not heard from Libby and that they decided to start looking at the trails. Checked both directions. They could have walked and didn't see them. They called AT&T and could not ping Libby's phone. She said Libby was scared of the dark, and if it was after 5 p.m. at that point, she felt that they needed to call the police. She tried to get a hold of Abby's mom, but was unable to. Becky told the jury that her husband Mike called the police. Becky told the jury that the search continued the next morning, and a friend came up to her and said, they found them. She told the friend, "You need to take me to Libby." The defense asked Becky, "Did you provide your DNA to police 2 days ago?" Becky responded, "Yes, one of the times." The prosecution asked Becky, "Do you know if Libby had ever been exposed to handguns?" She responded, "I don't know. My husband has a few guns. He hunts." She had not been around handguns. Nobody in our house owns handguns. I think just hunting rifles. 12:48 p.m. According to News 8, Kyla Russell, the defense has said that the composite sketches will not be allowed as evidence in the trial. And very rarely are they ever presented in a trial. Same goes with witness statements. Those aren't allowed in a trial either. It's not some conspiracy. You have an investigation and then you have a trial. Those two things are separate. The media entered the courtroom at 8:35 a.m. At least 23 people from the public were turned away. Richard Allen entered the courtroom around 8:49 wearing pink button-down shirt and khaki pants and glasses. The prosecution handed the German family a box of tissues. Allen spoke to his attorneys as the judge entered the courtroom. The judge tells the courtroom that 2 media outlets were filming jurors and confiscated a camera from NBC Network and 5 cameras from the Associated Press. The judge says the batteries and SD cards were removed. The judge reread the decorum order and excludes them from the trial. At 9:25, Judge Gold read instructions about the process to the jury, explaining reasonable doubt and the meaning of murder and kidnapping. All right, let's catch up on the chat. It's a good point, Darlene. Exactly, Anna. That's why I don't buy it. I do not buy it. Blind Squirrel says, anyone. Is the picture of Abby and Libby wearing the funny hats in the back seat of a vehicle? Is that Chelsea's vehicle? And the picture with the funny hats has taken on the day the girls were killed? I don't know. I don't think so, because it said that Libby was sitting in the passenger seat and that Abby was in the back. So I think that photo was from a different day, Blind. Hey, Molly. Oh, you will, Jari. You will. Maybe not today, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, but you will. Yeah, they were taking criminology classes. We did a video called Junior Detectives that were about that. That maybe they were trying to set a trap for somebody and get them on video. That was just a theory. Right now, Molly, I'm reading from Live Blog, day 1, I believe, wishtv.com by Ashley Fowler, Jay Adkins, and Jason Ronimus. I think they just put out day 2. And before that, we went through Donnie Burgess. You can find him at 93WIBC at x.com. He had really good notes. What's up, Cheeks? Good to see you. Welcome in, Kathy L. So why didn't the defense have it tested before trial? I don't think they want the answer. I think they want the doubt. That's the point. They wanted to use the doubt, and law enforcement's like, nope, we're going to get it tested. We're going to find out who it is, and then we're going to give you the alibi of that person. But I believe it was the defense. They wanted to wait until trial. That way they can use it as a building block. They're trying to build a house of cards, or they're trying to build reasonable doubt. And that's how you do it, with unanswered questions. You know, speculation. Like, we know better than to speculate. We know that we need factual information. We know that we're searching for truth. But it doesn't matter what we do, or what we know, or who we are. It's all about how the jury's going to take the information. And we've already seen that all the people that are out there in the public, they eat up the defense. They eat it up. You know, they're already leaning that way. They already have spent a lot of time accusing Ron Logan, dragging Kelsey through the mud. They love the idea of Richard Allen being set up. So they're going to eat that up. Let's just hope that, we don't know what kind of jury we're dealing with. Maybe some of them are just like them. Take care, Beth. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. Tara, welcome in. So we're going over the recaps. I went and pulled all of the best notes I can find from the reporters that were in the courtroom yesterday and who I believe are providing the best notes. So far, we went over Donnie Burgess. You can find him at 93WIBCX.com. And this is titled The Live Blog Day 1. This is wishtv.com by Ashley Fowler, Jay Atkins, and Jason Ronimus. We're about a little more than halfway through with these. And then we're going to go on to a transcript from a YouTube video by Andrea Burkhart, which is extremely interesting. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get their cameras back eventually, maybe. Thank you, Jari. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and go share this on your X account, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Yep, Riva, it looks like they have an actual hair stem. And inside that hair stem, it's going to provide actual DNA that they can match to a specific person. And from my understanding, they're testing all of the family members: grandmother, mothers, sisters, aunts. And this is law enforcement that's doing that. I don't believe that the defense was expecting that. They wanted to kind of leave it up in the air, but it looks like that, they're going to test it. That's what I'm being told by multiple sources. And also through these notes, we can tell that Becky and Kelsey have both provided their DNA within the last day or two. So, yep, they're going to take that hair, they're going to find out who it belongs to, and they're going to smack that alibi right there next to it, and they're going to take that piece of information right off the plate, which they should do, because this jury, we need to remove any doubt. But if there is doubt, right, Richard Allen needs to be set free. But we don't want any felonious doubt. Felonious, erroneous. Okay, let's continue on here, guys. Prosecution's opening statement. At 9:42, Nick McClellan began his opening statement. He described the events of February 13th, 2017, that it was a nice summer day in the middle of winter, and that the girls were laughing and joking at the park. McClellan says he will refer to the girls as Abby and Libby. He then describes the Monon High Bridge and how dangerous it can be, and how it is a rite of passage for kids to cross it. McClellan says Libby posted photos of the bridge with Abby and noticed a man following them. Libby was on Snapchat, and her video cuts off after the man says, "Girls, down the hill." McClellan warns the jury that they are going to see photos of the scene and describe them in graphic terms. He describes an unspent bullet at the scene and how the girls were dressed. McClellan tells the jury about all the witnesses that he plans to call to testify, and that Allen admitted he was on the trail that day. Allen shakes his head furiously when McClellan speaks about guns and his alleged admission. Allen's wife, seated in the courtroom, she shook her head when McClellan said Allen told her he killed the girls. See, and that's stuff that he's probably been coached on. He needs that. It's important that you react to certain things and you don't react to others. The defense's opening statement. Defense attorney Andrew Baldwin begins his opening statement with Richard Allen is an innocent man. He tells the jury the investigation was messed up from the beginning, middle, even the last couple of days. Baldwin says the state of Indiana kicked out the FBI and that a strand of hair was found around Abby's fingers. He says DNA from the family has never been provided, and they just need to test the girls' mothers to see if the hair is from a family member or not. Okay, so we heard rumors that it belonged to a family member. They do not know that. So they better hope it doesn't belong to Kathy Allen or somebody else. Yeah, so you're right, Dawn Spain. This definitely could backfire. And this is why it's important that we don't listen to rumors and misinformation out there. We can talk about it, we can speculate, but we have to be careful when people aren't providing their sources. But I'll read that again. He says DNA from the family has never been provided, that they just need to test the girls' mothers to see if the hair is from a family member or not. Baldwin told the jury the DNA did not match the girls, but may match someone from the family. Baldwin tells the jury that the prosecution's theory is that at 4 p.m. that day, the girls were deceased. And for the next several hours, the body didn't move and that the phone that was found never moved. Baldwin tells the jury about the CPS parking lot near the trails and that the state's theory of Allen's parking does not make sense. He says that the defense's theory is that Allen was never on the trail at the same time as the girls, and Allen was gone by 1:30 p.m. that day. And we already know that that's not true, right? So good luck with that. Baldwin tells the jury that witnesses will testify that they did not see Allen's car and that the man seen on the bridge may have not have ever said girls down the hill. See, I think they mean guys down the hill. He tells the jury that the evidence may show the girls went on an access road to a man named Brad Weber's house, that the road is under the bridge. Baldwin then tells the jury, we have reason to believe those girls may have gotten into a vehicle at a road near Brad Weber's property. Baldwin says Libby's phone was connected to a cell tower until 5:44 p.m., that it stopped connecting, then reconnected to a tower at 3:45 p.m. Baldwin says this is the same phone. That doesn't make sense. 5:44 p.m. that it stopped connecting and reconnected to the tower at 3:45. This is the same phone the state says was under Abby's body. Baldwin says the phone was working when it was found and that the phone was out of the area and someone brought the girls to where they were found. Baldwin tells the jury that at 4:34 a.m., 15 texts came through to Libby's phone. He described the search for the girls on the 13th and says the area was where the girls were found was searched, but the girls were not there. Not one person saw any bodies over there. Nobody saw any clothing in the creeks on the 13th. So remember, this is in the middle of the night. They're not looking for two deceased girls, and we're going to focus in on that when we finish these notes. Baldwin describes Allen and his family and talk about false confessions. He tells the jury the bullet was found in the ground, that no photo of it were taken from different angles. He says the bullet was ejected through a gun but not fired, so they tested it out on a new bullet and the markings were not the same. He tells the jury it is like apples and oranges. Baldwin tells the jury the defense believes two different people were involved. At 10:53 a.m., Baldwin concluded this opening statement. Okay, the rest we know. Here's a sketch. Looks like it's by the TAG Art Company, April Ganser. There's Richard Allen in his shirt. Okay, so let's go to Andrea Burkhart's notes. Now, I took this is a transcript, so there might be some words that don't match, and it might be a little bit bumpy when I read it, but don't panic. I'll translate. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you. If you guys want to go watch this full video, it's really good. I recommend it. The description or the link is in the description better. So I just kind of grabbed things that were relevant. Welcome in MF Witchy Widow. 2 different blades. Yep, 2 different blades. Possibly somebody else on the south end of the bridge. And that kind of goes with what investigators and the prosecution said when Richard Allen was arrested. We believe others may be involved. All they know is that if you want those details, they're going to prove that Richard Allen is the bridge guy, and he has those details. That'd be crazy, Anna. Good to see you, Julianne. Welcome. Carlos says, I do like listening to creators on both sides, pros and defense, as long as they have justice for Abby and Libby in their heart. Of their research, I respect all opinions. Well, you came to the right place. I hope so. I hope so. With just mitochondrial DNA, they can identify the source, for example, a female, but not the individual. Yep, but they're going to use the actual root. They're going to be able to find out who it is. No ways counsel telling him to shake his head, but they do mess up sometimes, advising people to show no emotion. I don't know. I guarantee they're telling him that. Maybe not to shake his head, but, to react certain ways. I guarantee they coached him. I bet you $1 million doll hairs. No, bird brain. Hey, Big Bird. Yeah, it's a lot like Charlie Brown. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. You're right. Snoopy. Hey, Stephen Elliott, how you doing? They tested the hair. They found it belonged to a female in the German family and moved on. That was early on. They were looking for the man on the bridge. Yep. But for the jury's sake, now they're going to test it for actual DNA. And they're going to pinpoint who it belongs to. They'll provide the alibi, and they're going to take that evidence right out of the hands of the defense. And the jury will wipe their hands of it, which they should. No stone unturned. Okay, let's continue on here. Okay, they had asked Kelsey German, Libby's sister, to go with them, but she couldn't because she had work. So instead, she drove them a while. She drove them. Libby was sitting in the front seat. Abby was sitting in the back seat. Libby was snapping some photos. She took a selfie that ultimately ended up in evidence. High Bridge was a gruesome scene. Libby was completely naked, covered in blood. Her throat was cut in several places. Her blood was on the ground, and it was on a tree that was nearby Abby. Abby was wearing her own underwear, but wearing Libby's shirt and jeans, and was wearing shoes but no socks. And the rest of the girl's clothes were found in Deer Creek. Okay, so one of those photos must be a sock. That makes sense now. But no socks, and the rest of the girl's clothes were found in Deer Creek. The sole exception was one shoe, which hold on. Exception was one shoe, which together with Libby's phone was found underneath Abby. And then they found, of course, an unspent .40 caliber Winchester bullet between the two girls. So the phone was taken for processing. They recovered the photos and the video of the bridge guy. Carbaugh reported seeing a man walking on the side of the road, muddy and bloody, like he had just slaughtered a pig. And according to Mr. McClelland, this is also bridge guy. At some point, somebody was reviewing an old report by DNR Department of Natural Resources officer who spoke with Richard Allen. In 2017, he told the officer he'd arrived at the trails at 1:30 and left at 3:30, and that he ran into three girls. Sheriff Liggett thought that if they could find the man who had run into the three girls, that would give them bridge guy. That's who it was, the man who was walking with purpose and was not friendly. So they led them to call Mr. Allen and interview him again. In this interview, he said he was wearing a blue or black Carhartt jacket and jeans. They searched his home where they found a gun with a .40 caliber gun. Interviewed him again, and Mr. Allen had no explanation for how his bullet got there on the scene. He was arrested, and then while incarcerated, he told investigators that they already knew that he had killed Abby and Libby. He gave details of how and why. This was not the product of interrogation. These were volunteered, spontaneous statements that he made the admissions. He had details that only the killer would know, according to Mr. McClelland. So he closed by saying that the killer had hidden in plain sight for 5 years, and that you will be firmly convinced that Richard Allen is the man on the bridge who killed Abby and Libby. He was going to have his way with them, but was interrupted, forced them across the stream, and killed them. Mr. Baldwin, they got into a turf war with the FBI and kicked them out. The problem is that the FBI had been assisting with the digital extraction from Libby's phone, so the police kicked them out, kicked the FBI out before discussing the FBI's findings from that extraction. Mr. Baldwin tells us that law enforcement is scrambling because there's a hair in Abby's hand. This was the hair that we heard about for a very first time in this mini opening statement. He gave us a little bit more detail that it was wrapped around her fingers and it had a root, so DNA was extracted from it. The analyst testified that the hair might be from a relative of Libby. It's not Libby's hair and it's not Abby's hair, but it is female, so they need to complete the testing when they're in trial. 7 days later, it's a little bit 7 years later, it's a little bit incomprehensible. 7 days, 7 years later, that they still need to test the mom, grandma, sister, or somebody like that to be able to tell if it's family of Libby or somebody else. So in 7 years, they never turned in the grandmother, Becky Patty, or Kelsey German's DNA. Didn't turn it in, so we don't know. We don't have the result back yet. We're hoping to get the result back. Part of the defense theme is that the truth can come out on a phone. Had a phone that he would continue to show the jury. He says the forensic data on phones doesn't lie or cheat. See, once again, he's being misleading. When you find out what is on Libby's phone, the state's case is going to start to fall apart. He said there were a couple of guys from the Idaho State Police that were in charge of analyzing the phone dumps and the data, but they were ill-equipped to understand it. And it's important because this phone data is accurate and reliable and is going to be incredibly important. He asked the jury to hold the state to their theory of the case because he contends that they are going to have to change it as the evidence comes out. So they're not going to talk about anything special found on the phone. They're going to try to prove that somebody physically held the phone in their hand and turned it on. So the defense theory is that Richard Allen was never on the trail at the same time as Libby and Abby. The witnesses describe Bridge Guy as being 5'11". We know that that's bullshit. I'm going to show you and prove that that's a lie. That's not Richard Allen's description whatsoever. You hear the voice saying girls down the hill, but the man on the video's mouth doesn't move. So the defense is going to contend maybe more than one person at the end of the bridge. The data from Libby's phone showed that she was connecting to the tower and receiving text and messages and so forth until 5:44 p.m., at which point the phone no longer connected. Then at 4:33 a.m., it suddenly reconnected. So the defense theory is this is when the phone came back into the area after about 10 or 12 hours of being out of signal range, basically. So this was phone was supposed to be under Abby's body the entire time. Under the state's theory, data will show you that human hands handled the phone. Don't know what that means. Maybe somebody tried to fingerprint access something. Don't know. See, once again, very misleading. Show that human hands, but yet without providing any information about how that's possible. Okay. So because of time, I mean, that's pretty much it. Let's talk about this part here. Okay, so they talk about a gentleman, fire chief. Can't remember his name. The name where his part of the search was near the area where the bodies should have been, but across the creek, not actually in the spot across the creek or so, just across from the bridge, about 300 yards from the bridge, at a little bit of an angle. So they were doing a grid search. People were supposed to spread out on the sides. Chief Stett will apparently testify that he saw flashlights from people searching on the other side of the creek from him where the bodies were found. Also, where they were found was a flat area. It was a natural place for people to walk. If they were out there searching, like in the dark, and just kind of taking the path of least resistance. So we're going to talk about that. So the fire chief is saying that they did search out there, but he doesn't know specifically where. He just knows that somewhere across the creek, they saw flashlights. Okay, let's start here with Doug Rice. This is a post of him talking with the actual witnesses. So the defense is just flat out lying. This is before they even arrested Richard Allen. Doug actually interviewed the witnesses. He says, "This is exactly what the young witness I spoke with on several occasions described seeing. Looks very similar to Richard Allen." He also says, "Short-billed hat with a hoodie pulled up and a scarf below his nose. Between his 40s and 50s. 40s and 50s. Richard Allen was 45, I believe, at the time. 43, I think, yeah, 45. And around her height, 5'6" or 5'7". So pretty short." So once again, you have the defense lying, saying that the witnesses are saying he's 5'11". Bullshit. This is accurate, right? You put a 5'4", 5'5" man in boots and put a hat on him, he's going to be about 5'6", 5'7". So that's easily discredited there. And then also I wanted to show you guys this video that I made as to why they weren't found that day. Remember, they're not looking for deceased bodies. They're not looking for anything like that. Okay, so one thing, it was dark. It was extremely dark out. Somewhat rough terrain. Well, actually, before we play this video, let me give you an idea of what the crime scene area looked like. Here, we'll go to this short video that was put out a long time ago by Barbara McDonald, and then I'll show you a bunch of photographs of the crime scene from when reporters showed up later on the day after the girls were taken out of there. So I want you to notice the crime scene. I want you to notice the tall grass, and she's standing right where the girls were found. I want you to notice the half trees sticking up, small sticks kind of poking up out of the ground, and tall and short grass. Good to see you, Purdue. How are you? Randy Gravitt, good to see you guys. Okay, so let's go back to where they scanned. Look at that. Look how tall that grass is. That's where the girls were found, amongst this grass. Okay, so take a good look. I just want you guys to know that my artist rendition is 100% accurate. Okay, so let's go back to the video that I made because we are running out of time. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to make it dark. We're going to show you how the girls were overlooked. The rough terrain, trees in the background, trees in the foreground on the ground, and then the tall grass. Now we're going to do real generic representation of the victims. We're going to place them in the tall grass. We're going to place the sticks over the top of them. We're going to shroud them in darkness. Okay, now as the searchers are walking by, and they're not even as close as I'm putting them here, they're going to swipe the flashlight over the horizon line. Remember, they're not looking for two deceased people. And it wasn't Richard Allen's goal to cover the girls. It was to camouflage them. And it worked brilliantly. So that should give you an idea of what was going on with that search. Now, as far as Richard Allen fitting the description, take a look at this. This photograph on the right is from 2016, December. Actually, I think this one is from November. They were shopping at the mall. Notice how close it matches with the bridge guy. There's the jacket again later on that day. This was around Thanksgiving of 2016. Notice the poofy jackets, the straps. They're trying to paint Richard Allen as somebody who's tiny. He was in the military, right? So here's some of my image work. Resembles Richard Allen, in my opinion. Let's take a look at Richard Allen's gait. I want you to notice how the left leg turns outward. Just like the bridge guy. Make sure that's all I had for you guys here. We already covered the iPhone 6 glitch. We covered that yesterday. We had many people going on to the iPhone 6 forums talking about specifically dealing with water damage. The phone would just turn itself on in the middle of the night, turn itself off, and back on. So I'm curious to hear what the defense, what their explanation will be, how they can prove somebody physically activated that phone and that it wasn't something similar to this glitch that's explained by a lot of these iPhone users. And these forums, these posts are dated late 2016 through 2018, specific to the iPhone 6. And then here's one more quick video that kind of supports possibly two people being on the bridge. This is Burston and the FBI.
As of the facts that we have collected at this point in time, we have not tied it to any other known homicides.
Keep
A little
in
bit of a
mind
delay.
that
Don't mind
there,
that.
the likeliness of possibility of more than one person. We're not saying that the voice that you heard is the same as this person here.
Okay. So in my opinion, regardless if that's Richard Allen's voice, who it came from, they're going to prove that he's the bridge guy. And if there's any missing pieces to this, he'll be the one to explain that. All right, let's catch up on chat, guys. Then I got to get out of here in about 5 minutes. Anna Melodies, good to see you. This is probably sister's hair. It sounds like they don't really know. It could be anybody's hair. So once again, the fire chief is basically stating that he doesn't know for a fact, and even the defense admitted in their opening statements, they don't know if anybody searched through the crime scene. They just know that they were somewhere near it. So the video I showed you is to prove how easy it would be to overlook the girls based off Richard Allen's countermeasures. So he wasn't trying to conceal or cover the girls. He was simply trying to camouflage them. And it worked to his advantage. He was able to get away. There was no evidence found of a murder. He was able to come up with his game plan. Thank you, Kitty Cat. His attorneys would never allow that to happen. They control law enforcement's access to their client. For the most part, yeah. Necessary evil. Drones with heat seek can't see through fog. Well, yeah, there's just not enough information to kind of continue that conversation. I've tried to uncover it. We've had people who claim to have spoken to the actual drone operators, that it wasn't law enforcement. It was just local folks who had drones with thermal cameras. Good to see you, Christine. Yeah, exactly, Reva. And that's the point I'm making, especially when they're looking for possibly maybe somebody that's injured, 2 kids that might be lost, maybe one child assisting the other child with a broken leg, maybe some folks that were sitting on a tree or out there. They weren't looking for 2 deceased bodies covered in sticks. And they definitely, actually here, I might have something else I wanted to show you. Where the hell did I put that? Well, I did have a photograph. I'm not quite sure what I did with it, but it was just me highlighting the trails that were out there. And there's no trails that go through the actual crime scene. They go near it and around it. And there's nobody, that's going to be walking through all this rough terrain. They're going to stick to the trails. They're going to kind of scan with their flashlights. Before we get out of here, shout out to Suzer for sponsoring today's live stream, along with Zoe Kitty being very generous, gifting some memberships. Thank you for the support, guys. Shout out to all of you who continue to donate to the Cash App and the Venmo. Thank you. You make this possible. Chopper Harris, how you doing? Chopper, we got to hit him. We got to hit him.
Get to the chopper!
That'd be crazy. Thank you. Yep, spot on. I mean, I don't know anybody that walks with their foot, bends their leg out to the left with their foot out like that. I mean, it's specific to Richard Allen. So regardless if there's another voice, if the voice doesn't belong to him, if there's others involved, if they were taken and brought back, if that stuff is true, ask Richard Allen. Tinfoil Hat Club, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, that's a whole nother bag of worms for sure, Tinfoil. I don't know, maybe it'll grow legs at some point in the trial, but I agree with that. Yeah, Anna. And the part that they keep bringing up is that this was like a rite of passage. And it looks, and from what we heard from interviews with Anna, said Abby really didn't cross that bridge. That may have been her first time. And if Richard Allen is triggered by something that the girl said to him, maybe she looks like his daughter. I don't, that's all. We can all speculate about that. But I think maybe her struggling to get across that bridge, in his mind, he said, well, I don't know how these girls are going to get away. I'm extremely familiar with these trails. I'm familiar with going down the hill, walking near the creek on both sides. And John Douglas tells us that the fact that the girls crossed that bridge and went to the south end, he would consider that a high risk area for them. The moment that they did that, they put themselves at a great risk to a predator. So that could be triggering Richard Allen if he's the guy, right? If he's the killer, that could be triggering to him watching somebody struggle to cross that bridge when he knows damn well that they can't run away. And the way that McClelland's painting this image is that he attempted to sexually assault them just under the bridge. So when he said guys down the hill, that's where he wanted to attack them. And for whatever reason, he was interrupted. And then he forced them across the creek. So that tells me that at about 3:02, when the Subaru crew showed up on the bridge, that may have scared him across the bridge. Or excuse me, across the creek. So he may have forced Abby to put on whatever clothes she could, put on the clothes, and then he just forced Libby. Maybe she picked up her clothes in her hand, put the phone in her shoe, and gathered her belongings. That's kind of the picture he's painting. All right, guys, if you're part of the replay crew and you missed today's live stream, you know what to do. Leave a comment. We'll get back to you. Shout out to everybody who participated in the chat, provided feedback, corrections, and anything like that. And all of you who, the super chats, gifting memberships, and all you members and you mods, and those of you who continue to donate to the Cash App, the Venmo. If you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, guys, shoot me an email to sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Yeah, that's possible. Anna Melodies. Thank you, Violet. I don't know. From my understanding, Tinfoil, I believe at one point they were underneath the bridge on the north side on the 505 trail. And then one of the other females that showed up, they joined up then on the north side of the bridge, and then I believe they crossed together. So they would have kind of met up at the north end making all kinds of noise. And I don't think they would be looking there because you can't really see from that far away, especially if you decide to walk closer to that crime scene. So yeah, I don't believe that they would have been seen. What's up, Charlie Murphy? Yeah, and that was at about 3:14. And there was another man there too, which was one of the McCains. All right, guys, I'm sorry, but I got to get out of here. I have some other plans, other things I have to attend to. I really appreciate all of you who have subscribed to my channel. We're going to stay on this trial. We're going to consolidate all of the information here in one place, the Sleuth Intuition channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. Take care.